Toronto-based artist Nick Souza is crafting a unique sound that blends his Brazilian heritage with R&B influences, with smooth vocals, soulful chords progression, and the energetic rhythms of Brazilian drums. Nick's music is a captivating fusion of genres. Since emerging in 2019 with his debut single All the Way and the EP Souza SZN Volume 1, Nick has quickly gained recognition. In 2020, he won the Beat Series Award in Toronto, and in November 2022, he claimed the Best Rap Hip Hop Performance Award at the Portuguese International Music Awards for his single Light Show. As a talented songwriter, producer, and saxophonist, Nick's music transcends boundaries. His songs invite listeners on a journey where tradition meets modernity, creating a vibrant celebration of diversity and artistic expression. Nick Souza, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Not as good as you, Nick, but I'm okay, and I wanna thank you for making the time to speak with me and to let my audience know more about your music. All right?
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's great to meet you as well. I really
Okay,
appreciate it.
my pleasure. Nick, you were a Baile Funk pop artist. Where are the influence
Yeah.
of Baile Funk? Tell us a little bit more about this genre.
So, Baile Funk is a funk. So whenever I would go to Brazil to see my family, I would always get up to date on the latest Baile Funk music, and it was just stuff that they would listen to at the parties and with their friends and things like that. So that's kind of how I learned about Baile Funk and just growing up. Yeah.
Okay. Great. However, I do know that that's not how you started your career. You actually started as a hip hop artist, right? And I'm curious to know
Exactly.
why you made a transition to Baile Funk.
For sure. I think I started making hip hop because it was just the music that I loved. I still love hip hop a lot. At the time, it was just what I was listening to the most. And so obviously, what I listened to the most is what I end up making. But after a while, it just started to feel stale and feel a bit more a bit inauthentic. And I had the idea of kind of diving deeper into my roots as somebody who comes from a Brazilian background and kind of trying to infuse that with um with the type of other types of music that I love. Yeah.
Okay. But it's interesting. You mentioned about it started after some time you doing hip hop. It started to feeling the same. Was it an internal thing for you as an artist, or
For
was
sure.
it something more when you looked, in the market around the world or in the state? Did you also feel the same, or was more an internal process for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it was mostly internal, just me making the music and it just wasn't resonating with me. Like I would make it and there were things that I would relate to, but in general it wasn't really what I felt like I wanted to put across with like my music. So, and obviously, hip hop in the early 2010s passed rock music for the most consumed genre in the United States. So with that, it just started to become so much more saturated and everyone wanted to do it and everything. So it was me kind of starting to resonate less and less with the music and then also looking around and seeing that, you know, it was harder and harder to stand out because it became the trend and everybody started doing it. So I think it was a combination of both things for sure.
How do you see the future of hip hop worldwide? Is this still there is still a lot of room for I don't know how to put to grow, to improve, to Do they need to reinvent themselves?
I think they are reinventing themselves. If you really look at it like on a ground level, there's a lot of new sounds and ideas that are coming with hip hop, and I think it'll constantly improve and change. But I think as far as a visibility standpoint, I think hip hop is at the top now. Is the most consumed genre, I think, still today. But I think the genre that's going to come up and surpass is going to be Latin music and Afrobeat music.
That's interesting. But you think will that then become because when you talk about Latin music, even Afro music, Afro
Hmm.
pop, they are
Yeah.
big now. But do you really think?
Yes.
Because when I ask you this question, I'm also thinking about the market, how the market respond, and the marketing behind all this new genre. Would Latin music
For sure.
and Afropop have enough money behind to propel it to the top, even displacing hip hop?
That is a really you got some good questions, man.
Thank you.
No problem. I love talking about this stuff. I think so. In the past couple years, what we've been seeing is that the most consumption of new music has actually been coming from the Latin market. Those demographics, Mexico, all the other countries in South America, Hispanic, and even Brazil as well. Those are the countries and the people that are intaking new music more
Okay.
than the markets in the United States, the Anglophone markets. So I think we're starting to see a trend of just higher Latin consumption of music, and obviously as a result, Latin music is going to there's a more demand for it.
Correct.
So obviously the supply, there's going to be people funding the supply, right?
You think it has to do, this raise in consumption has to do with the availability of new technology? We have an internet, we have all these apps, it's everywhere, everywhere in the world you can have access. Has it anything to do with that, or is more a product of saturation in the market, the other genres, or even because new people tend to consume more new styles, and the population in Latin America is very young.
Yes. I think it's definitely a combination of a lot of those things. Like when you look at hip hop music, it's basically dominated the late 2000s and all of the 2010s, right? So I think in addition to all of those things that you said, right, the Latin population being so young and the saturation of other genres, I feel like people in general are just looking for something new. They're looking for something new to get behind and just something refreshing. And I think Latin music is getting to that point where we're getting these big artists, Bad Bunny, Anita, that are being able to break out of the Latin market and start to see little pieces and glimpses in the North American market. And I think they're just breaking down those barriers for a bigger motion after them. So yeah.
Great. So speaking about the Latin music, your influences Brazilian music. I
Mhm.
listened to Running, one of your latest singles. And yeah,
Yes.
I don't, you know what? I do not see a lot of hip hop there, but I see some,
Right.
tell me if I'm wrong, some African, maybe the drums from Kuduro, the Angolan music genre. I don't know. I've heard
Yes.
something. Is that true? Tell us about Running, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what happened? When I made Running, I saw a TikTok of
Okay.
an Angolan producer. Mata que mata. And I just love those drums. And I think if you look at the session file, the
Mhm.
file where I produced the beat, I think I actually named the session file Angola.
Oh, I didn't see that. I just listened
So
to the song.
right. So it was definitely heavily inspired by Kuduro Angolan music, and I tried to mix it with the Baile Funk, the do da, right?
Yeah,
I
I
put
heard
that
that. That was there
beatbox in
too.
there.
That was there too. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I mixed all of that together and I sang on it, right? I sang like some R&B type vocals with like some R&B kind of chords, and it was just a big mishmash of everything. But I would definitely say when you talk about the drums, a big inspiration was definitely kuduro, which is like a genre that I love and I think is very adjacent to baile funk music as well.
Yeah, and that, one of the things I like about, was about your music is that I don't know, I'm not a technical guy when it comes to music. I just listen and I like it or I don't like. I like it because, when you put that elements of Brazilian music, it's make it a little bit happier for me. I define a happy song. It's really, you can hear
Yeah.
all the rhythms that are underneath that music and it feels good. I like that, very vibrant. I mean, I want to congratulate that's good
Yeah.
song. But for me, I know you identify yourself as a baile funk artist, but
Mhm.
on certified freak, that is still hip hop, right?
Yes, yes. Certified Freak is actually a song that I'm featuring on with my good friend, one of my best friends and longtime collaborators, Raz. He's a great artist, he's a great producer. And I think Karaz is just me but Jamaican. You know what I mean? So he infuses, there's a bit of a dance hall infusion as well, and he mixes it with hip hop and R&B. And someone else who produced on that song is a good friend of mine, Alejandro. He's Colombian. And yeah, I think Certified Freak specifically is a very hip hop style song with
So
flavors of dance hall and of pop music, you know? So yeah, that was one of my favorite songs to be a part of. I love collaborating with those guys. They always bring something new. So yeah.
who is the one artist, one performer you'd like to collaborate with in the next couple of years if you had your way?
Oh man, I mean, they say never meet your idols,
Let me
but
guess,
I think
Justin Timberlake?
he would be a dream. He would be the top of the top. Like, I love him. He was one of the first like artists that I really like idolized growing up. He has a song "Rock Your Body." I think I watched that music video on loop as a kid for like hours and hours and hours. His dancing, his vocals, so amazing, and the music video, the production of the video as well was very cool with the fisheye lens, and also the production. The beat was done by Pharrell Williams, who I think is another person who I think is at my top list for sure. Would be Justin Timberlake and Pharrell Williams. And to put it more on a local, considering I'm from Toronto, I feel like I have to say Party Next Door and Drake as well.
Oh, Drake. Well, he needs a collaboration after the whole problem with Kendrick Lamar. He needs a collaboration with a guy like you, man.
Maybe one day they can make it happen.
Where
I know my music is sitting in their email somewhere. We'll see.
he will have time to go through those emails one day and give you a call or at least send you a text or whatever. We sure hope so. Let me ask about your
Mhm.
creative process. Every creative person has their own, way. Some people sit, make a time to create the music. Some people are influenced by, walking to the street. Tell us about how does your creative mind work? Do you set up a time? Whatever's around you inspire you? How does it work?
I mean, to be honest, a lot of my inspiration, just to be completely honest, comes from my relationships with women, you know? I have a lot of muses in my life that inspire me to write music, and just through like events with girls and romance and relationships and that longing definitely is like a main factor. Another thing that inspires me as well is the nightlife in my city. I think is very vibrant. Toronto is the most multicultural city in the world, so in the span of a month, you can go to a kuduro party, a Baile Funk party, a hip hop party, an EDM party, and everything in between. So there's a lot of influence to draw from there. But as far as like when I actually get down to making the music, like this is my bedroom and it's also my studio. Like there's a bed back here, but I got my mic right here, but and I also have a set of speakers here and my interface, and I roll out of bed and I get in my chair when I
Okay.
don't have work or anything. I work as an audio visual like technician as well, like so I do live shows and things like that on the technical side, cables and all that. But yeah, a lot of my stuff just happens here. I produce myself, I record myself, and I write. And sometimes my friends have studios. They're key holders to studios. So sometimes when it's more of a collaborative setting, more of a social setting, we go to a friend of mine's studio somewhere downtown or something like that. And yeah, but I would say I go to the studio multiple times a week. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. Yeah.
So just a quick point. So when you say Mrs., so is that multiple girlfriends, or you're talking about your mom,
No,
sisters?
no.
You don't have to disclose, but I gotta ask.
No, it's all good. I mean, I would say a lot of it is just, like more romantic kind of love interest type themes, type ideas. Some of these girls, it might be a girl that I see at a party and I don't even talk to her, but I just build this story up in my head about who she is, or it's a girl that I've actually had like interactions with, some small interactions or maybe more in depth, but it's all inspiration at the end of the day, for sure.
Wow. So you don't need a lot to get inspired. So it's like any event,
Yeah.
any given time you're walking down the street, something could spark your creative mind right there. That is
Absolutely. Whether it's conversations that I have with friends or just conversations that I have like with girls, or and girls can be friends too, but just conversations, nightlife, all that stuff. Yeah.
the only music I could find, the only music that you sing in Portuguese. I don't know if you have more. Is Final de
Hmm.
Semana. That's in Portuguese.
Yes.
Why don't you have? I know you're Canadian with the Brazilian roots, but Portuguese is not. Even though I have seen some music that you mix, even Spanish too, but you don't
Yeah.
sing in Portuguese very often, right? And why is that?
That's a really good question. I do have multiple songs in Portuguese, just unreleased, but my
Okay.
first release for next year is going to be all Portuguese. We can talk about that more. But yeah, I'd say just because this transition into Brazilian music is still pretty new to me. So I've kind of been over this transition, working the muscle of writing songs in Portuguese and singing in Portuguese. Final de Semana was a song that was produced by a good friend of mine, Luis, who he's a producer and he also throws Baile Funk parties here in Toronto, and he produced this EDM type of idea and he wanted me to write in Portuguese. So I did, and I wrote it in probably around an hour. Um and it was a lot of fun, and writing in Portuguese is definitely something that I'm going to do a lot more because I'm going to Brazil um for the end of next year, and I'll be staying there for a while to try and get some roots and build some network out there.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely I'm going to continue writing more and more in Portuguese, and even switching back and forth between the languages, because if Brazilian music is something I want to be putting my stamp on, I have to, you know?
I see. So you're trying to penetrate that market, and how hard would that be in your
I definitely think that it's going to be a challenge for sure. Brazil is a huge country with a huge population, and it's definitely there. I speak fluent Portuguese and I can sing fluent, eu posso falar, quase que perfeitamente, mas
Não, tu falas
às
muito bem
vezes dá
português.
um. Obrigado. Às vezes dá um errinho aqui e aí, mas yeah, so I think me coming in as an outsider is a double-edged sword because people can look at me in a different light in a positive way, but also in a negative way as well. But it's just a matter of being able to adjust and learn more than anything instead of trying to impose my North American self into the market, play with the duality of me being able to be more than one thing at once, and just tap into that and not try to conform too much to the Portuguese side, and I don't want to fake this persona that I'm trying to be more Brazilian than I am, but just to be myself and bring something different to the table. I think that's which is going to be hard because people don't like different things, right? But I think if I'm persistent and if I continue to work hard and remain humble with God's blessing, it shouldn't be any way for me to lose,
I see. Do you also produce your music?
Most of it, yeah. Most of the stuff that's out, I produced myself. I think Certified Freak I did not produce. Final de Semana I did not produce. I have a song, more hip hop song called Waiting For that I did not produce, and a song called Perreo, which is I speak Portuguese, Spanish, and English on that song that I didn't produce as well. So I think I have between 10 and 15 songs out. So 4 of those songs I did not produce. Certified Freak, actually, I did some production on that as well, some additional stuff. But yeah. So majority I produce for sure.
When do we gonna see you performing here in the States?
That is a very good question. I mean, I'm slowly creating a network down there. I have a song coming out with a Brazilian artist who's actually based in Los Angeles, and she does performances every now and then. I would like to perform in the States at some point, but as far as any concrete dates or things like that, I don't have anything to share. I think my sights are set specifically more on Brazil right now.
Okay.
Hopefully I can do some performances down there next year and gain some more credibility and some more stripes and from there go to the United States, because for Canada the infrastructure here can only do so much for genres that aren't country, pop, or which pop is like pop can be anything. Pop just means popular. Country or folk or rock music or those type of genres. Canada doesn't really have a strong market or a strong infrastructure to uplift anything besides those genres. So I think going down south, whether it's all the way south to Brazil or somewhere in the States, can be a lot more advantageous, I think.
Hey,
Yeah.
I hope those plans, come to fruition to get into the Brazilian market. For me, actually, it makes a lot of sense. You having your Brazilian roots and even actually, singing Baile Funk, so it makes sense for you to try in the Brazilian market. Nick, hey,
Thank you.
thank you very much, man. Thank you very much for making the time. I mean, it was hard for us to schedule the interview, but thank you very much. Finally, I
Yeah,
had the opportunity to speak with you again. I hope we can talk again, either when you come
absolutely.
when you come from Brazil or whenever you have some news. I'm here. Let me know, and we'll talk again.
I would love to. Thank you so much. And yeah, I know I was a bit late coming in, but I appreciate that we were still able to make it happen. And I absolutely loved speaking with you. Your questions were amazing, and I could tell that you really did some amazing research, and you were able to pick up some things that I was very surprised on. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
Nice words. Thank you very much. Until I see you again, you take care. All right.